Welcome back to the dopest show you won't get sick of. I'm Spencer. This is Sasha. Spent most of my 20s in federal prison, but have been off heroin since April 9, 2010. Got a lot of stories about the stupid stuff I did to get put in prison. Also got a lot of stories about the crazy stuff that happened when I was actually in prison. God forbid you end up in prison. You won't have to make some of the same mistakes I made. So, this is a wild one. Certain people, they get upset and you're like, listen, and you try to talk to them and they're just, no. And that type, okay, this person in question was like that. So I got back to the low security from the medium security, and the low has weights, the medium does not. And instantly got in a workout crew with my buddy Boone. Now, there were 7 people in this workout crew. It was all people from the drug unit. They were all his friends in the drug unit. He gave every one of them a nickname, and some strong dudes in there. 3 were, Boone and them, they were in their late 30s, early 40s. Strong, 3 of them were strong, big men, been in prison a long time. The other 3 and me, young kids, we were smaller, trying to build up. I'm the only white guy in the crew. Some people didn't like that, usually the older 2, and the one that was kind of unapproachable. And there were times in the workout, you got to keep it moving. They got a routine because it's 7 people with 1 Olympic bar and a handful of dumbbells. And this young guy had something to mouth off about the workout or something else every time, and he tried to talk to him, and he was just, he'd act like he was mad. He's one of those people, okay? Just that, I don't know. So, anyway, I got pretty reasonably strong with that group, but bench didn't get up good. It was all forced reps. Try to make you lift more than you're capable of, The next group, my buddy JB, Justin Berger, he got me into the group that helped me get up on bench. My bench was only about 245, but my deadlift was already well in the 500s, and squat was, approaching 400. So I was pretty strong at that point on those 2, but with the bench press, it just wasn't as much. There's one guy in the crew, light skin. I talked about when I lift, and you get categorized because of your race in prison. So I work out with an all black workout crew, but I'm known for the deadlift, as this ranked strongest white guy. It's just how it gets categorized in there. But this dude in there, light skin, he's mixed, probably Spanish or something. Boone gave everybody a nickname. He called him light skin. He called the one guy Trey Love, the other one South Cat. He had nicknames for everybody. But light skin, man, he put me to shame. And like I said, you get categorized because of race, but for his weight, man, he put me to shame. He was probably about 175 pounds. He's deadlifting 585 with wrist wraps. He's bench pressing close to 315, and he's squatting well up there too. But, I got a little more glory because, strongest pound for pound of the white guy. People do work out. They call each other out. It's like a freaking dance-off. I'll drop you off. No, I'll drop you off. Let's go. And you do bench, squat, and deadlift, and it's either who has the highest totals or who has the highest totals divided by body weight. So even though I wasn't the strongest overall bench or squat for the white guys, when you total the 3 up and divide it by body weight, I was the strongest pound for pound in the powerlifting. So my ex and I had broke up, and I found out she is an awful hussy. She stole $100,000 from my mom's business, wrecked a car, I think my mom co-signed for her, on her way to a visit to come see me. And something had happened that put me in a bad state of mind shortly before what I'm getting ready to say, and I'll talk about that. She'd come to see me. She had one of my mom's friends give her a ride to come see me. And, I'd said something hateful. I was sick of it. I found out she was cheating and she stole all that. I had my mom up prosecuted. I thought I was going to fix stuff. Something that messed up, thought I was going to fix it. Now, we were together when I was on bond for 2 years. The whole time we were clean. We were both in drug court. She had a year clean. I had about the same because I've been in jail. And she knew my story with opiates. She'd never done opiates. She waited till I went to prison to get addicted to opiates, knowing my story, and that pissed me off. And I'd link my finger and touch her arm and find out she got makeup on her arm covering track marks, stuff like that. And it just tore me up. But it tore me up when I found out she had a guy living with her. But then this time I just got mad. Basically what happened was, she came to visit me and I told her, keep a needle out of your arm, keep your legs closed, we wouldn't be having any problems. And it was a little bit much, but the guy who drove her home knew my mom didn't want her with me and everything else, so he egged it on, everything else. Since she'd gotten in a wreck coming to see me before, I always asked her, just please send a 2-sentence email saying, I made it home, I'm safe. So I don't worry you getting in a car wreck, 'cause I'm a worrier. And I didn't have that email, so I called 20, 30 times that morning, finally got a busy signal. Called again, somebody picked up, they didn't say nothing. Instead of pressing the accept button, they pressed the permanent block button, so I can never make a call to them again. To her, I got a 3-sentence email for a 5-year relationship. I was mad, but I was even more mad because my mom, who loves me, who's done everything right, was telling me stuff, and then she'd show up in the visit and put on an act, and I was torn on who to believe, and I'm still upset with myself that I didn't take my mom's word for it. And everybody else since I've been out who was there told me, yeah, it was awful. It was terrorizing that she did, and she basically threatened my mom with being mean to me if my mom didn't let her have her way and everything else, and it just was a bad situation, and I was mad at myself, mad at that I didn't take my mom's word for it, and I kicked the wall whenever I got that block on the phone so hard I thought I was going to break my foot, shook the walls, everybody stopped what they were doing. Shortly after that, a dude named Riverside got clemency. He left me the remote. I ended up taking over one of 7 TVs, ended up punking down a couple kids that kept turning on the old people. Old people like their news from 5 to 7. They just walk up and turn it on them because they finally made it to a low security. They didn't do anything about it. At the low security, there's a lower level of violence because people want to stay at the low. It's nicer. It's a lot nicer. And I stood up. I got tired of that. My give a damn was busted. My rubber band snapped. Is something I used to say when I was a kid. I said it's like there's a rubber band in my head, and once it snaps, it's on. Because my mom was like, "Why did you do that?" And I said, "Mom, it's like I have a rubber band in my head. Once people stretch it so far and it snaps, I don't know what to do." But after I did that, I was like, "Man, I better calm down. I'm gonna get my year taken. I'm gonna get my 6 months halfway house taken. I need to calm myself down." So I had that TV room and I was keeping that right because it wasn't fair for, these 2 little young punk kids come in there and turn on the old people and just no respect and everything else. So I ended up owning that down really good. I think I'd switched workout groups about this time. I worked out with JB with his group. But like I said, my bench was only like 245 at this point. It was like 170 pounds, but squat and deadlift, it was up there. Well, he comes in the TV room, and I keep mentioning that because that's how they start. He comes in the TV room, and he goes home the next day. See, when I worked out with them, they were all in the drug unit. But when you complete the drug program, you go back to your unit. They try to make it so as soon as you finish the drug program, you go home. So they wait till the last minute to let you do it, so that way you're not stuck in prison with temptations, drugs, alcohol, fights, because if you get in trouble, they take your year and they take your 6 months halfway house. You're going to be around sweaty balls for another 18 months, okay? If you're into whatever you're into, God bless you, live your life. No judgment with that. I'm not. I got dirty magazines that I ain't even allowed to have that's all I got. Sweaty balls being around all day, smelling everybody, hearing everybody, everything. Nah, I want to go ahead and get keep my year off and go home early. So I'm sitting in this TV room, comes in with this smug look, and he goes home the next day. And he started saying something about, when are you going to get blah, 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 this, and that. And I'm like, man, my deadlift and squat, I'll rep your max on deadlift and squat. Yeah, but blah, 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 this, and that. And I'm like, man, you only bench press. He only bench press like 265. I'm like, bench press 20 pounds more than me. So what? And you weigh, another 10, 15 pounds heavier than me. He was tall, about 6'1", cut up, but he was lean, but he wasn't bulky. And he's like, yeah, but he just was antagonizing me. And I said, man, leave me alone. He's like, oh yeah, look at you and look at me. And I'm like, look at you? I said, what about you? Exactly. And that pissed me off. I thought, now, I never walk around without a shirt on in that prison. Why? Why would I do that? Okay? It won't drag. On the YouTube thing, yeah, put a picture up there. It's entertainment. It attracts a click and everything else. But in prison, no. Until my last 3 months. Last 3 months, I walked 12 miles a day, and it's probably influenced because of this event. That I'd walk 12 miles alone, listen to my MP3 player, trying to get a tan for when I get out, looking good and everything else. But, I wasn't a show-offy person, so I don't look like I lift if I dress, normal, which I did. And he said that, and I said, man, you just skinny. Ain't nothing special about you. I said, I rep your max on squat, deadlift. I said, I squat 100 pounds more than you, deadlift 150 more pounds than you. What are you talking about? You skinny. That's what I said to him. I was mad at it. And he's like, and he goes off, said, go to the bathroom. He goes out, and I kept eating my food. My last year in prison, see, I was sitting in the TV room eating I ate commissary. I didn't go to the kitchen except for fried chicken day. That was my stuff. And I had a no-show job at maintenance, which was a no-pay job, but I'd go over there at 10:30 and I'd get to eat first with the maintenance crew on Thursday. My boss had me sign the no-pay sheet. He knew I was going to be there on Thursday. He's a cool boss. Some maintenance bosses are really good guys. They don't treat him. They treat you like you're human. They don't do extras, none of that. But you become friends with him, and he was a good dude. But anyway, so I'm eating refried beans, instant rice, mackerel. You get meat from the kitchen. You store it in an unused office trash can. You had an ice machine. You'd salt the ice and make it lock up. So I'm sitting there eating my food when this happened. I'm like, man, sit here, eat my lunch. Leave me alone. Figured he'd go away. I waited about a minute or two. He comes back in. This time more aggressive. I calmly put my food down. I'm like, you serious, man? You really going to do this? And he was really, it was going to have to happen. So I figured the bathroom is better odds. Now, in the low security, you go in, it's about a 15-foot hall, goes about 20 foot back, a few computers, TV rooms. Then there's hallways. To the left is the side that I'm on. To the right, there's a quadrant, but it's got the guard's office, the counselor, the case manager. But to the left, it's a quadrant, okay? It's open. Now, the guard's in his office. He can walk up on this at any time, but at the current moment, there are 2 doors, a couple hallways, and a lot of space between us. And in that quadrant, there's just a regular doorway. You walk in, it's 15 by 30 foot. To the left, there's 2 showers, there's a couple urinals, there's a couple stalls like you'd see at a gas station. It's summer. There's no air conditioning. So the window is propped up with this stick. That Bolt used to hit Yammy in the head at one time. But anyway, so if guards chill outside in front of the building sometimes, if they hear this, it's an issue. I'm trying to diffuse this. Forget the convict stuff. I want to go home. No more smelling sweaty balls all day, looking at dirty magazines, because I don't have another choice, because that ain't in me. So I'm like, man, we got to diffuse it. So I'm like, man, come on now. So you go home tomorrow. What are you trying to do? I don't care. I'll go anytime. I'm like, yeah, but you don't have to, man. What was it I said? And I started thinking, I was like, was it that I said you were skinny? And I kind of smiled a little bit, but I'm talking my hands, keep my hands up. And you never get in striking range fully within somebody. You keep your distance, keep your hands up. It looks like you're talking with your hands, or like you're pleading, I don't want to fight. But they're up in case something happens. Okay, he looked away. Done had enough people try this. He looked away, swung, and I ducked down, and I put my face right up on his chest. Get him in a body lock. He started trying to hit me, but what are you going to do if somebody's head right here? You can't get a power shot off, okay? You can't. All you can do, So he's trying to get, and I'm trying to talk to him. I'm like, man, calm down now. You go home tomorrow now. I'm trying to go home too here soon. And he stopped it. And he's trying to fight. He's trying to punch me as best as he can. Having a body lock, my hands around him were faced, but I got my chest in his face, my face in his chest, rather. I get dyslexic moments. And I shook him by, so then it throws the one arm over, and I'm behind him with this lock. I'm like, man, come on now, settle down now. Let's not do this. You go home tomorrow, man. What are you doing? And I kept trying to talk to him. He ain't listening. So I'm like, okay, I got to put him down. So I put him down, got both hands here, wrap one leg around his leg, trip him, get on top of him, and I get a seatbelt grip. What a seatbelt grip is one arm goes under here, one arm goes over top. So it's like a seatbelt, And so, you get that grip, and I've got that, and I take both my feet, I wrap them around the insides of his thighs, and I flatten him out. So he's flat on the ground. I'm keep trying to talk to him. Like, man, chill. He's scratching me, trying to bite me. And I'm like, man, please stop this, man. He's not stopping. At any point, a guard can walk in. They can be hearing this because he's making a ruckus. F that, blah, and I'm trying to keep silent. I'm like, oh my, this idiot here. So, I'm not going home a year later. So I can't have marks on me. He can't have marks on him. If either of us have marks, they're going to call people in. They're going to ask questions, everything else. Now, this was in the afternoon, so most people were at work, on the rec yard, wherever. I don't know a lot of people. I don't know if there's anybody on the side of the building. Can't have witnesses. So I slip my arm around, get in a rear naked choke, and I wait till he's flailing, kicking, scratching, digging his fingers in my arms. Bad. You'd be surprised the scars I've got from scratches. Oh my, scratches can leave some little scars on you, and they hurt. Oh, it hurt. But I kept going until he quit moving. I held it for another 3 seconds. He's asleep on the floor. I'm like, oh, Lord, what am I going to do? So I flip him over. He's sitting on his butt like this. I take my biceps and I put them under his armpit so he's facing away from me. I got my hands around his shoulders and I drag him down. He lives in a 4-man cubicle. There are 3 4-man cubicles down the center of this part of the building. He lives one over from me. He's on the bottom bunk. I drag him to his bunk, put him in the bunk, and he just looks like he's asleep. They have 10-minute moves every hour. You can go to and from wherever. They call that 10-minute move shortly after this happened. I got out of there. Went on the rec yard. Stayed on the rec yard, okay? I went and I hid in the leather shop. I went and I hid in the art room. I'm like, can't let him get any get back. Now, the bad thing about the low, too, is you're not in cells. See, at the medium, when they lock that door, you're not locked in. Everybody else is locked out. You're good. But at the low, you only stand in your room and count time. You can be working at 3, 4, 5 a.m., whatever, okay? So, ultimately, they do recall, which is like around 3:30, 3:40, which means everybody got to come back to the building. They got to do count, and everybody goes to dinner. They do what's called rec move. So if you don't want to eat, you can go at the rec yard. I waited to see what he's going to do. When they were doing counting, he's in the cell net. He's just looking down and looking mean, but he ain't making eye contact. And I'm not trying to stare, but I keep looking over, making sure, aware of my surroundings. I'm like, man, he's going to try to get me back, man. Oh, man, it's my year. This idiot done made me do this, and I humiliate me. He's a gang member, too. I'm not going to mention what gang because obvious reasons. And I wait till rec move. He doesn't go. I go. I'm out. I stay in the rec yard. I've stayed in the leather shop and in the art room a good part of that. There aren't any cameras in there anywhere. And I stayed there all the way until 8:30 at night. At 8:30 at night, call recall. Got to come back in. And then they do count like 9 o'clock. I go to one of my friends. And I tell him in confidence because he's one of the few people I trust. If word gets around this has happened, I'm going to the hole. I'm losing my ear. And I tell my friend, I'm going to be straight up about this. I was scared. He's going to come back. Number one, sneak me when I wasn't looking, do something bad to me. I mean, they got these 180 water heaters that have just short of boiling hot water that pour a cup, throw in some anything else. It's hard to tell. I'm keeping really aware. I'm paranoid as could be. And I tell my friend, I said, listen, here's what happened. He's like, you serious? I said, yeah. I said, listen, I'm gonna give you $50. You're going to hang with me the whole night. We're going to stay up until he leaves. And if something happens, you just get in the middle, try to defuse it. If there are 2 people, it's kind of a deterrent. So we end up staying up. We went to the upstairs part, which is an open TV room, hung out, watched TV up there. He stood on the outside. He's a big guy. I need him just get in the middle to stop it from happening again, if something happens. And, I'm not going to lie. I gave him $50. I was like, listen, if this gets ready to happen again, I need you to stop it. I really would. And I said, I trust you now. You can't tell him. I said, oh, man, it's somebody I could trust. So we stayed up the entire night. I'm on edge. You have no idea that type of stress, anxiety, adrenaline dump where you just feel like you're exhausted. Like, oh, Lord. I stayed up the entire night with him. And sure enough, they call him 6 a.m. He leaves. Nothing happens. It could have happened, though. And he could have came and tried to get his get back, anything else. But with 1 day left, he either was scared to get out of prison or he really just doesn't have any sense. I made jokes to my friends after that, somebody, which this incident, there's a few people that are out now that know about it, that were my closest friends. But this was something I kept secret because, could have lost my ear for this. And there's a friend that I plan on having on here, the actual friend who I paid to stay up with me. And he could give a little bit more about that. But anyway, I made a joke to them and I said, shoot, somebody comes at me, acts like they want to fight, I'm going to fall on the ground and start flopping, pretending I'm having a seizure. Now, you want to fight? No. Forget that principle stuff. I'm tired of being, smelling sweaty balls all day. Nah. In that dorm, they had no air conditioning. It got up to, 100 degrees some days. And even when you got a shower, when you were drying off, you'd start sweating and you could feel it, you could see it, you could smell it. In the summer, man, it was ripe. Being around a bunch of dudes, all day for years. I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to get this done with. So I started, at the last few months, I just started walking. Not quick, and I walked 12, sometimes 15 or more miles a day. I'd be out there all day, and just walk, just to keep from having problems with anybody. I figure I'm walking my MP3 player, nothing else can happen. But this was one that, man, it got my nerve. And then I did have that other incident with that one guy, Pimpson. When I was playing with him and I hurt him, that was a week from getting out. I had some close calls, some really scary stuff. People talk about this, that, and everything else. It's scary when you know you can get out 18 months early because of an awful program you had where you had to sit in timeout chairs with an empty chair in front of you as punishments. You know, I went through all that BS to get my year out, and then I want to lose it? No. Nah, so, but yeah, this one, you know, probably a little bit of anger fuel. I probably could have just diffused it a little better now, looking back on it in retrospect. I was angry at that time, though. I was angry at myself. I really hated myself for not believing my mom over that situation with my hussy ex. I felt like I let her down, and I felt like and I still am upset about that, if you want to know the truth. It's nothing about her anymore. It's the fact that I couldn't decide who to believe, and that I didn't just trust my mom. My mom is the reason I'm here. Everything she's done, the support and everything. She sat outside the judge's office for like 6 weeks straight with a small business that depends on her to keep running, to catch him at the end of his day, to get my jail credit that my lawyer wasn't doing nothing to help me get, which it ultimately ended up being, I think it was 13 and a half months. And man, she sat there all that time. When I was in the halfway house in Winston-Salem, that's 2.5 hours away from Roanoke, she came 3 days a week. And we'd hang out for probably about 3-4 hours. I love my mom. I mean, you know, I'm mom's. I talk mom probably 2-3 times a day. If it was not for her, you know, I wouldn't be sitting here. You know, it was. So to not take her word for it, and that's part of the anger that I had during that time. You look back in retrospect and you see stuff for what it was. And you know, you get a lot of anger and stuff, and you got to recognize it, and you appreciate it, you understand it, but you gotta be in control of yourself. It's something that's taken me a long time to do, but and I'm still working on it. I'm still working on it to this day. Some days I have my moments, but when I do something, say something, even if it's just my tone, I'll call back immediately to anybody, you know, close to me, and I'll apologize for it. And I'm like, you didn't say anything. I said, yeah, my tone was like I didn't have enough time. Like, I'm just too busy for you. I said, that influenced the rest of your day. You know, try to be thoughtful. I spent too many damn years of my life being selfish. You know, going around selling drugs, using drugs, everything else. Too many years being selfish. You know, it's time to be a good person to the people that deserve it. The rest of everybody, I just done cut them out. You know, half my cousins and everything else. I started realizing they were douchebags and everything else, quit hanging out with them. But the people that do matter, yeah, I'm there for. I can say that now. And anyway, if you liked the video, press the like button. If not, that is 23 minutes and 10 seconds of your time. That is gone forever. And for that, I do apologize. I had told this once before for the really early people. It got like 200-300 views. But then I said the person's name, I said the gang affiliation, I said certain things I shouldn't have said. So, this was a story I told like 5 months ago, deleted because I realized I put too much information out there. I'm vague with stuff, you know. Ain't nobody gonna be able to sue me. No, ain't gonna sue me. Ain't gonna happen, you know. That's why I keep money in the bank. I keep blocks of silver, you know. Government take what, you know, is in there. You know, I got stuff hidden. I've got probably more diamonds hidden inside of markers that I took the ink cartridge out of back when I had a jewelry shop than I'll ever find again in my life. But I'm not going to say anything, let somebody sue me. You know, ain't going to happen. So, got to be vague, got to do it a certain way. So, if you heard this before, you've been here for a minute. You've been here for a good minute. You've been here since I had like 300 subscribers if you've heard this one before. Because I deleted it probably about a week or so after I told it. But anyway, I hope y'all liked it.